Alright, listen up. Marvel might have the Fantastic Four, but DC just brought us a Superman who's everything you want right now. Hopeful, human, and full of heart. This isn't his origin story. Nope, Clark's already been heroing around Metropolis for 3 years. But when tech mogul Lex Luthor pulls a twisted scheme, Superman's reputation gets tossed into the gutter. And yes, there's a superpowered dog named Krypto too, because why not? Today, we're breaking down how this film rebuilds the Man of Steel. Stick around, this one's a flight you don't want to miss. Severely injured and struggling to breathe on an icy sheet, Superman lay motionless. His body broken. He whistled, and Krypto appeared, accidentally worsening his injuries in his joy. Despite the pain, Superman instructed Krypto to take him home to the Fortress of Solitude. There, robotic caretakers placed him on a solar platform, his only means of healing in Metropolis. Public sentiment had drastically turned against him. Superman's return to the sea was met by an attack from the merciless Hammer of Arabia, a massive creature. Weakened, Superman was overwhelmed and left vulnerable in the street. Luthor, observing from his office, recognized this as his opportune moment. Only a hot dog vendor dared to help him up. Bystanders offered no assistance, merely watching with suspicion. At a high-level government meeting, Luthor proudly presented Ultraman, a new being he created, stronger than Superman, alongside the Engineer and a private army of technologically enhanced soldiers. His proposal was simple: replace Superman as Earth's protector. However, officials remained unconvinced, believing Superman had done more good than harm. Luthor departed furious, but his plans were far from concluded. Meanwhile, Clark Kent diligently tried to maintain normalcy. He went to the Daily Planet, spoke with Lois Lane, and tried to stay calm, though he knew everything was rapidly falling apart. Lois, sensing his distress, requested an interview with Superman, which he granted. His intervention in a war, preventing a massacre but halting Bravia's invasion. He explained his actions in Varavia were solely to save countless lives, acting without permission because it was necessary. Lois warned his unilateral decision could have severe consequences. The interview concluded on a sour note, leaving Superman visibly upset. While Superman recovered, Luthor dispatched the metahuman Engineer to pinpoint his secret fortress. As he slowly recovered, Superman watched a partial message from his biological parents. She located it, but couldn't breach its defenses, alerting Luthor, who began planning an invasion. That same night, Luthor released a monstrous fire-breathing creature, terrorizing the city. During the intense fight, 3 other heroes unexpectedly joined in, and together they subdued the colossal beast. Yet, despite saving the city, there was no applause. Everyone's eyes were instead glued to the news. Luthor had strategically leaked a manipulated video, Superman's parents' message, cunningly altered. In this fake version, they commanded him to rule the planet with an iron fist, dominate the weak, and reproduce. The fallout was devastating. Public opinion turned completely against him, and even some allies began to question his intentions. A robot at the fortress confirmed the original recording had been internally tampered with, and worse, was now missing. Superman feared the absolute worst. Driven by this fear, Superman decided to confront Luthor directly, storming his office and accusing him of kidnapping his dog. Luthor denies his involvement, but security cameras capture the entire encounter. This footage leaks to the public, leading many to believe Superman is out of control. That evening at Lois's apartment, Superman opens up, sharing his deepest thoughts. They explain sending him to Earth for survival and to make a difference, conveying love and trust before the transmission abruptly cut off. Still weak, Superman refused to rest, sensing a serious crisis unfolding. A clear success for Luthor's smear campaign. His intervention in a war, preventing a massacre but halting Bravia's invasion, led the media to accuse him of unauthorized interference, sparking an international crisis. In Metropolis, public sentiment had drastically turned against him. He explains his lifelong conviction that his parents sent him to Earth to save lives, not to conquer them. He also admits he's considering surrendering, hoping it might lead him to Krypto's location. Lois listens intently, then points out that his greatest flaw is trusting too easily. Yet, she stands firmly by him. The next day, Superman surrenders to the authorities. However, instead of a trial, he is handed directly to Lex Luthor. Luthor loads him onto a ship and transports him to a secret facility deep in the desert. There, he traps Superman inside Apokolips, an artificial prison designed to exist between dimensions, from which there is no escape. To make matters worse, Superman is not alone. Rex, a shapeshifter capable of transforming into any substance. Yeah, you heard that right. Any substance. The guy could literally show up as your morning coffee, and you'd have no idea. Imagine that level of surprise, including kryptonite, waits inside the cell. This entire elaborate setup is part of Luthor's master plan to weaken Superman, break his spirit, and utterly destroy him. Luthor even reveals that Krypto is indeed locked away, being used as leverage to manipulate Superman, while Superman endures his isolation. Lois and Jimmy Olsen begin to uncover evidence that the entire situation is a setup. Jimmy, who has a reliable contact close to Luthor, confirms that Superman is trapped within a pocket dimension. Wasting no time, he gathers all available intelligence and seeks out the only individuals who might be able to help: the metahumans. He meets with 3 superheroes, explaining Superman's imprisonment in Luthor's created prison and the full extent of the deception. The heroes, however, are skeptical. Trust has become fragile after the fake video of Superman's supposed parents. Still, one of them decides to believe Jimmy and powers up his ship. Together, they head for an abandoned base in the desert, where Superman's signal was last detected. Using advanced technology, Mr. Terrific confirms the presence of a portal to another dimension. They activate it, discovering the entrance to Luthor's hidden prison. Meanwhile, inside the pocket dimension, Superman is on the brink of collapse. Rex, under Luthor's explicit orders, has transformed into kryptonite to keep Superman perpetually weak. Luthor, relentless in his torment, brings in a hostage, the same hot dog vendor who had previously helped Superman during the earlier battle in Metropolis. Luthor uses him for blackmail, demanding that Superman reveal the names of those who helped him and the identities of his adoptive parents. Superman resolutely refuses, unwilling to put anyone else in danger. In a cold and brutal response, Luthor orders the civilian shot in the head. Witnessing this horrific cruelty firsthand, Rex is horrified. He realizes he's been serving a true monster and silently begins to reconsider his entire allegiance. The team outside decides to break into the pocket universe before it's too late for Superman. Inside, Rex finally makes his decisive move. This light slowly begins to recharge Superman as his strength gradually returns to him. Revitalized, he rises and immediately rushes to free Rex's son, who is also imprisoned within the facility. He lifts the child into his arms, and alongside Rex, whom they manage to rescue, they attempt to escape. However, it's not easy. Guards intercept them on the way out. In the ensuing chaos, Superman falls into a treacherous river of antimatter. If he sinks into it, he will surely die. Rex courageously dives in to help. Superman uses his freezing breath to push himself back, managing to escape the deadly current just in time. The 3 of them continue running as the universe around them begins to collapse. Just in the nick of time, Lois and Mr. Terrific arrive. They use an energy field to shield the group and guide them towards the exit point. Seconds before the dimension completely crumbles, they manage to escape. Back on Earth, Superman is still weak. Mr. Terrific lends his ship so Superman can rest and recover. Lois then takes him to his parents' farm, where he's welcomed with open arms. While recovering, Superman has a heartfelt conversation with his adopted father, Jonathan Kent. He admits that he's no longer sure who he truly is, fearing he may have been sent to conquer, not to help. Jonathan calmly answers him, explaining that parents can only guide, and it is the children who ultimately choose who they want to be. He reminds Clark that what defines a man isn't where he comes from, but rather what he does. These profound words reignite Clark's spirit. Meanwhile, in Metropolis, Luthor discovers Superman has escaped and completely loses control. He trashes his office, lashes out at his girlfriend, and calls for Superman's soul. Luthor defiantly claims government authorization to kill him, but Superman calmly asserts his right to do what's just. Luthor, without authorization, opens an unstable portal, the Rupture. threatening to tear space apart and force Superman into hiding. Simultaneously, Perry White at the Daily Planet receives Lois and Jimmy's evidence, proving Luthor orchestrated the war in Rev, manipulated the government, and altered Superman's parents' message. The paper publishes, and truth spreads. Meanwhile, Superman sees news of Jar Emperor under attack, a boy waving a Superman flag. Realizing he can no longer hide, Clark prepares to act. Mr. Terrific contacts him, warning that Luthor's rupture is expanding and threatens to destroy the city. Superman flies to seal it, but is ambushed by Ultraman and the Engineer. She deploys nanobots that paralyze him, blinding and deafening him as Luthor observes. Gathering his last strength, Superman rockets into space, atmospheric friction burning off the nanobots. He crashes back, the impact purging his body of remaining tech. Ultraman is dead, but the Engineer survives. Luthor then reveals Ultraman was a DNA-created clone of Superman, explaining his access to the fortress and knowledge of Superman's moves. Though stronger, the clone is clumsy and controlled by Luthor's remote spheres. The brutal fight intensifies. Despite taking severe blows, Clark whistles for Krypto, who arrives and shatters Luthor's control over the clone. The playing field leveled, the clone attacks relentlessly, breaking Superman's arm and pummeling him. Luthor revels in the spectacle, yet exhausted and injured, Superman endures. The impact propels the clone directly into the Rupture's black hole, where he vanishes without a trace. The Rupture continues to grow. Mr. Terrific arrives, informing Superman they found the closure code within Luthor's mainframe. Without hesitation, they fly towards Luthor's platform. Luthor attempts to flee, but Superman intercepts him, slamming him to the ground. He explains that his humanity comes from feeling fear, love, and learning from mistakes. Krypto reappears, lunging at Luthor, but Superman intervenes, stopping the final blow. He seeks justice, not revenge. Meanwhile, Mr. Terrific hacks the system, finds the code, and accesses the Rupture. Gradually, the city stabilizes, the sky returning to normal as Metropolis is saved. News outlets expose Luthor's crimes, publishing documents proving he manipulated the government, fabricated the war, created Ultraman, and imprisoned dozens, including former partners, politicians, and even a hot dog vendor in his private dimension. Luthor is arrested. Prisoners from the Pocket Universe are freed, including EB, who reunites with Jimmy, and Rex, who officially joins them after aiding Superman.
I thought I might give you an interview.
Many feel shame for doubting Superman, who, despite the world turning against him, has once again become a symbol of hope. Shortly after, Superman visits Lois. She smiles, noting the world owes him an apology, but he only wants to see her. He promises an exclusive interview. They ascend to a rooftop, away from cameras and witnesses. Upon returning to the Fortress of Solitude, Superman finds the robots fully repaired and the facility restored. He names robot number 4, Garrett. His cousin, Kara, also known as Supergirl, then arrives, noticeably intoxicated, after visiting a red sun planet where Kryptonians can get drunk. Krypto warmly greets Kara, revealing her as his true owner. With Superman having merely looked after him, Kara thanks him for caring for Krypto. They then view restored archival footage from the fortress, showing young Clark Kent's formative moments with his adoptive parents.
Sorry, steal it.
Deeply moved, Superman smiles, reflecting on his journey. And that's Superman 2025. Hope, heart, and a little bit of chaos. If you like this breakdown, hit that like button and stick around. We've got plenty more heroes to talk about.